So if you haven't seen last week's video, I spent the last 2 weeks making a corset. You can check out the video for the mock-ups from 2 weeks ago and for the final corset last week. With all of that done, we're going to focus on making the corset cover this week. A corset cover is a layer that goes in between your corset and your outer bodice to protect your outer layer from the ridges and from the hardware that's in the corset. It might also help disguise boning, but don't quote me on that, I'm not sure. But basically, because you get a hard ridge kind of like at the bust level from your corset, a corset cover will go slightly above it so that it can hide that ridge. You have the busk in a corset when it's got these little, here, I have it right here. You've got all the little knobs here, and those do go into the loop part of the bust, but they have a profile. They're not completely flat. It's easier to remake a corset cover than it is to remake a bodice or a corset, so it kind of helps protect from the wear that each of those garments would have on each other. I'm going to be using the same purple fabric that I used on my chemise to make the corset cover. It's very thin, so it'll be very lightweight. It's going to be pretty simple. I have some reference images, but I ended up not following any of them. So Alice is a really off-shoulder design, so I didn't want anything that had straps or sleeves that like fit like a normal, like, I don't know, like my shirt that I'm wearing here. And I also didn't want anything that had full sleeves because the chemise already has full sleeves, and I thought that would just kind of get really bulky with like layers kind of twisting over each other. I'm already not going to be able to lift my arms because that's just kind of the nature of off-shoulder, but I thought it would just be too much to add to that one area. So instead I opted to make it an off-shoulder strap, I guess, and it might end up looking kind of silly over the chemise, but it'll just be a strap that goes, hopefully lands on the same spot as the scalloped strap area of the chemise. We'll see. I could not find any extant examples of this or any drawings of this. This is just kind of something that I made up myself. I also had a really hard time finding any examples of the underpinnings for an off-shoulder evening gown. They have to exist because, you know, there were gowns like that that existed, but it doesn't seem like there are that many resources, or at least whatever I was searching was not the correct search term to find these garments. If you know the correct search terms, or if you know of any extant or illustrated examples of these undergarments, I'll throw an example of Alice, but also of like an off-shoulder evening gown that might need these kinds of undergarments. It was really hard to find anything. It was easier to find something with straps. They didn't have a lot of sleeve that was very puffy, which I think is more of an Edwardian silhouette because it's meant to like fill out that pigeon bust, but it was really hard to find for a super fitted bodice, and I just had no luck, so I kind of just made it up. Hopefully this is still interesting even though I made it up and it's not really historical at all, and hopefully it will still serve the same purpose to soften those ridges from the corset and to protect my bodice and my corset from each other. For the pattern, I'm going to be using the same patterning method that I used for my Foundations Revealed gown, and that I think is Ladies Tailored Garments something something, I'm not really sure. I will put that in the description and probably also put the actual name somewhere next to me. Hopefully this will end up working as well for this as it did for the gown. So with all of that, let's just get right into making it since this intro is super long. My back piece and my side back pieces here, and I'm going to be putting a facing on everything, especially on the straps, so that everything is nice and clean finished. But I think I have to put the facing for the side back piece on first since that's going to the underarm, and I don't think that will be an accessible seam once these two are together, so hopefully that's right. That's what I'm going to do. If it is not right, I'll let you know if I end up taking it out again. Awesome. top edge and the sleeve, I just did a little facing because I didn't want to like line the whole thing. That would kind of defeat the purpose. So right now I'm just whip stitching this facing down, and I think it looks very cute. I'll be adding this lace to it. I'm just going to stitch that right to the top. I wanted it to potentially be removable if needed be, because if it gets damaged, I'd rather not have to take the whole seam apart. That's why I didn't sew it straight into this seam. I also wanted eyelet lace rather than this because I wanted to be able to thread a ribbon through it. However, I didn't have any in my stash and I wanted to just be able to use something that I already had. Didn't want to wait for it. This is from a project I did about 3 years ago. It was for Hannah Alexander's Moana, so I think that's kind of cute that it's being used for multiple of my Hannah Alexander cosplays. This one was a pretty simple video and I hope it was still enjoyable. I had a good time making this. It was a nice like bang it out real fast and feel accomplished kind of project. So that worked out well. Feeling accomplished, you know. But generally I think it does what it's supposed to do. It feels like it covers the line of the corset at the top really well. Like it doesn't look like there's a ridge here. It just looks like I'm rubbing my boobs. Sorry, but I'm trying to feel for the line of the corset and it feels like it's covered pretty well, so that's awesome. In the back it also covers up the ridges of the lacing pretty well, so that's nice. And I think I was able to get it pretty on with where the band, the yoke of the chemise lands, so I'm very happy with that. There's a little bit where it shows and like gapes here, but like if it didn't have that gaping, I wouldn't be able to move my arms at all, so you know, that's kind of necessary for function. But I think the buttons are so cute. I love these buttons. These are suggested to me by Shannon Makes. She's another costume YouTuber, you know. I think they're so cute. I've been using them on all of the undergarments on this that need buttons. I also was able to use, I think I mentioned, so I actually filmed the corset cover video before I filmed the corset video, like the final corset video. I don't know. Very confusing how order has to go because I want it to be in an order that makes sense chronologically, but then I also had to wait for materials for the corset. So the corset cover ended up getting made first before the actual corset, and I made it off of the corset mock-up, so I fitted it just over the corset mock-up and it worked pretty well. It's a little bit loose in the waist and the hips, but as I mentioned in my corset video last time, the actual corset ended up being a little bit smaller than I anticipated, so it's a little bit larger than the corset. You can kind of see, like I can pinch it out there, but that's totally fine. I don't think it's a problem since this will all get kind of like squished in with the bodice anyways. If it had been loose up here, I would have been a little bit more concerned because then it can like slide up and down and like be in the wrong place, but I think it's held pretty securely by the shoulders and by the bust that this part is not going anywhere, so that is totally okay. And then what I was going to say before I went on that whole tangent, because I filmed the corset cover afterwards, I mentioned in this video that I was able to use lace that was left over from my Hannah Alexander Moana cosplay. I was also able to use that lace on the top edge of the corset. So they match, and I think that's just very sweet, cute little detail, and I'm very happy with it. All in all, I think it turned out really well. It was just a nice, easy project. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. To make the facing, I just traced off the very top 1 inch of each pattern piece around the neckline and use that as my facing pattern. I think that's everything there is to say about this. I just did kind of not a narrow rolled hem, a pretty wide rolled hem actually. That's it. I think that's it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you liked the content, even though it was kind of flying blind, this is what we're doing kind of project, please comment. Comments, concerns, questions, constructive criticism, yeah, leave all those in the comments. I'm happy to talk to you guys. And if you want to see the rest of this costume, please hit the subscribe button. And I think that's it for today. Okay. Alright, thank you guys again for sticking with me. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Okay, bye. Come here. Oh, we got a baby saying hi. Yvette just wanted to say hi before I go now. Now she wants to leave. It's food time. Okay. Okay, let's go. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, let's go.